Let's take a look at the popularity of the three-point shot across the league. Let's start by talking about last season and something that we already know. The Celtics broke the record for most three-pointers attempted in a single season, with attempting almost 50 three-pointers a game. So the first few stats here are stats we're used to seeing: the amount of wins that the team has, and their shooting percentage from within the arc and outside of the arc. The two new stats I added here are how many of their field goal attempts are from within the arc, and how many of their field goal attempts are from three. What this tells us is that the Boston Celtics let it fly from behind the arc last year more often than they didn't, and by a pretty considerable margin over the Stephen Curry-led Warriors. I also included the total amount of free throw attempts per team as a proportion of the total amount of field goal attempts per team, for a reason I'll explain later in this video. All in all, just around 58% of all shots last year were from two, meaning that around 42% of every shot was from behind the arc. The Denver Nuggets were the least three happy last year, at just around 35.6% of every shot was from behind the arc. I think it's pretty easy to look at this and just not really feel the gravity of it until you see what I'm about to show you next. Here's a look at the very same statistics, but from the 2009-2010 NBA season. Last year's Jokic-led Nuggets, who were last place, dead last in the statistic last year, would be number 1 15 years ago. Damn near 80% of every single shot was from within the arc 15 years ago. Just around 22% of them from behind the arc. 20% less than what it was last year. And allow me to make you a little bit more confused here. If you look at the shooting percentages from 15 years ago, they were around 49% from within the arc and 35.5% from three. And as we look at last year's stats again, they're 5% more efficient from within the arc than they were 15 years prior, and only 0.5% more efficient from three. Kind of bizarre, isn't it? Now let's get to why I included this stat here. 15 years ago, the proportion was 1 free throw for every 3 field goal attempts, as opposed to last year, it was 1 free throw for every 4 field goal attempts. I think this tells us something pretty obvious. As it's becoming normal for everyone to shoot with range nowadays, less people are getting down and dirty in the paint and getting to the line. One last thing I would like to know out here is the points per game. 15 years ago, it was around 100 points per game. But now, with the three-point shot getting more and more common, we're sitting at around 113 points per game. Obviously, there's more to the story than that, but something interesting I thought I'd point out.